A new report finds Pentagon credit cards are being used for adult entertainment. A Defense Department audit finds the employees are paying for gambling, escorts.
Why do people do this sort of thing? One of the theories is that when they have these expenses, if they put it on their government card, the bill doesn't come to the house, their spouses don't see these questionable charges.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man. I'm saying
that the people who are screaming so loudly about President Trump's decision to audit federal spending are the very same people under President Biden who wanted to hire 80,000 new IRS agents with guns.
And if you ask the American people what they think of what Elon Musk and DOGE are doing with government right now, they are vehemently opposed.
A few moments later.
Asked if DOGE is helping make major cuts in government expenditures, 60% say, heck yeah, it's helping. 40% say, no, it's not helping.
This time around is you actually have somebody who is serious about cutting spending in Washington, D.C. For years, politicians have made promises. They have not followed through on those promises, and Elon Musk is doing that. He's doing so at the direction of Donald Trump, which as the commander-in-chief and the CEO of the executive branch has the authority to designate an individual under his direction to do exactly what Elon is doing. So I think that American people should get used to this. We're not going to see the end of it until DOGE has finished its work.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is a bombshell report. Pentagon officials caught using taxpayer-funded cards at casinos, bars, and clubs. The report says that taxpayer-funded credit cards were used at casinos, bars, and nightclubs totaling $1.3 billion. This isn't something new. If you remember correctly, this occurred about 9 years ago, and it's probably been going on since then during the Obama administration. This is crazy. Has blown the lid off a jaw-dropping scandal. Pentagon officials have been using taxpayer-funded credit cards to bankroll gambling sprees, bar tabs, late-night party nightclubs while Americans scrape by amid soaring costs. The brass of the DOD have been living large on taxpayer dollars. Okay, here is the breakdown of this. $387K blown at casinos and mobile app stores. Think slot machines like Candy Crush and all this other stuff. $112K racked up at bars, lounges, and nightclubs. And it spiked during the holidays and big games like the Super Bowl. A staggering $3.9 million in transactions worth $1.2 billion left on unchecked because no one bothered to look. The Pentagon has this fancy tool called the Visa Interlink Compliance Management System meant to catch shady charges, but here is the kicker. The Defense Travel Management Office ignored red flags, letting high-risk spending slide without a peep. Hundreds of program coordinators supposed to keep an eye on this and checking it out, but they haven't even bothered. Now, this is deja vu all over again.
The report finds Pentagon credit cards are being used for adult entertainment. A Defense Department audit finds the employees are paying for gambling, escorts, and more in Las Vegas and Atlantic City. David Williams with the Taxpayers Protection Alliance is joining us to talk about this. David, this is just astonishing that this is happening. How can that happen?
Well, first of all, I read this report and it says adult activities. Is that like bridge or pinochle? I mean, those are adult activities. But no, but seriously, here we go again. I mean, we've seen this problem over and over again in the federal government. We have employees using government credit cards for things other than government. And this case is the Pentagon, and this is really concerning because the Pentagon, they have about 1 million credit cards. I mean, there's a lot of people that work at the Pentagon, so this could be a massive problem. And like I said, this has been happening for decades.
How much money do you think
we're probably talking? I think we're talking into the tens of millions of dollars just at the Pentagon. Because if you look at the Department of Labor, a smaller agency, they spend $100,000 on haircuts, on phone service. So if you look at the biggest agency in the federal government, the Department of Defense, this is going to be tens of millions of dollars. And the most alarming part about this report is that they're not looking at the people that did this. They're looking at the systems in place. So the people may not get punished. The people that use these credit cards for these services and for the casinos, they may not get punished. And you have to punish the people that are doing this. Take away their credit cards and say, listen, you don't get to use a credit card for a year. And, it's really frustrating because credit cards are supposed to solve the problem of the $400 hammer, the $600 toilet seat.
Right.
It's supposed to cut through the red tape, but now they're abusing the credit card, so it has to stop somewhere.
Just to be clear and to state the obvious, we're then paying for this, the taxpayers, for those adult entertainment trips.
Yep.
Well, in part we are, but at some points, what they're doing, these employees, they're actually hiding these from their spouses. So they're paying the credit cards, but we just don't know the extent of it. That's the problem, is that the Inspector General came out and said, well, we're going to release the report later in the month, but here's kind of a sampling of what the problem is. So we don't know the extent of this, and hopefully there's going to be some ramifications for the people that are doing this.
I hope so. So if we jump back into this article, this isn't something new. Back in 2015, a similar audit caught DOD cardholders dropping cash on casinos and strip clubs. Promises were made, heads nodded, and nothing changed. A decade later, the party's still going on and taxpayers are still fronting the bill. Okay, your money, their playground. This is bananas. Okay, the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, we know DOGE, right? Hyped as a cure for government waste, is our best shot to slam the brakes on the nonsense. We need Elon Musk's DOGE to put an end to this once and for all, starting with the $1.2 billion mess. Taxpayers can't wait much longer for this to get cleaned up. And if you guys remember correctly, the Pentagon has failed several audits. They haven't passed a one. Okay, they failed 7 times, 7 audits in a row, unable to account for $830 billion in budget. This is absolutely insane.
The Pentagon, meanwhile, failing its 7th audit in a row, Congresswoman. They're unable to account for nearly $830 billion budget. I mean, let me just say that again. They are unable to account for an $830 billion budget. This is insanity. The Undersecretary of Defense, Comptroller, claims that the department is making progress toward a clean audit in 2028. I want to get your take on what the heck is going on at the Pentagon. So I want you to take on these 2 issues. First of all, the Pentagon and these failed audits. Where's the $830 billion?
Right. Well, the Pentagon has never actually passed an audit. Can you imagine the average American when the IRS comes in and they fail audit after audit? They'd face massive fines or charges from the IRS, and they need to be accounted for, every single dollar, every penny.
And do you think that's going to change? I mean, Pete Hegseth coming into the Department of Defense could obviously represent real change here, but what's the problem? Why can't they pass an audit?
The problem is no one's ever held accountable. No one's ever fired when they can't find the money or when there's massive fraud or waste. These bureaucrats have been running the country for decades, and it's not working. And so Donald Trump, he's not a threat to democracy. He is absolutely a threat to the bureaucracy that's been in D.C. for decades, and this can't come fast enough. This should be a use it or lose it type of theme when the new administration and these disruptors come in. There's so much that we can change and be far more efficient. We shouldn't be spending millions of dollars in Russia, for example, to train cats on treadmills. That's the kind of thing your U.S. tax dollars has been paying for, including puppy parts and wet markets in China. We don't need to be doing that. There's so much waste across the board.
It's unbelievable. But I mean, look, I'm sorry, but you and your college are the stewards of this, right? You're supposed to be representing the people. So what? It's gone off the rails. If we've got all of this money that's being appropriated and it's actually nonsense.
What do you think the mentality is? That they get mad when the boss asks them what they did last week, or they just refuse to even reply to the email?
Yeah, so it's like gaslighting, you know, when you ask somebody if they've done something and then all they say is, why did you ask? You must be attacking me.
Yeah,
That's pretty much
bullying.
what's happening. Bullying me, yeah. No, it's called doing your job. If you get paid, you have to do your job. And I'll be honest with you, here in the White House, nobody really had an issue with it. We're all so busy. I think that the American people know we're working hard. But if you are taking another job, if you are pretending to work from home, but you're not actually working, and American taxpayers are paying for it, you better be damn sure that President Trump's going to figure it out. DOGE is going to cut the waste, cut the fat, and you no longer have a job here. They definitely should have taken that paycheck when they were offering it to them for October.
I agree with you, Maria, which is why I always vote against these spending bills, the massive omnibuses and continuing resolutions that continue the drunken spending for years. I voted against every single measure because I'm not going to go along to play along. I don't have friends in Washington. I'm not there to make friends. I'm there to work for the American people.
Okay. Well, we're going to be watching you work because something's got to give here. We can't keep saying, well, oh, we can't find the money. Oh, we wasted more money.
We discovered a foreign fraud ring in our entitlement programs. Folks, even if you are not against government waste, and you love government waste, I should say, not to use a negative there to describe it. If you're for government waste, at least waste it here, right? If you're going to waste government money and piss it away in a toilet bowl, at least waste it on U.S. citizens. Nope. They found nobody cares on the left. Watch this.
As we know, there's a massive amount of fraud in this country. You have, for example, foreign fraud rings. These are foreign nationals who come into the United States. They use fake Social Security numbers. They use fake identities to steal billions in taxpayer benefits. There's no way to know until DOGE gains full access exactly how much money we're talking about. But over a 10-year normal budget window, you could be talking about saving over $1 trillion by clamping down on massive fraud in our tax and entitlement systems, including, again, those carried out by organized fraud and theft rings. A very important point in all this is to understand that DOGE are subordinate staffers of the federal government. They are political appointees, just like me, just like everyone else in the White House, that serve and answer to the president. So we're not talking about an outside private entity. We're talking about the existing federal staff of the federal government performing their statutory and constitutional duty.
Can you imagine fighting this?
It's outrageous.
Well, here's how it's supposed to work. You go on a government trip, you're a Pentagon employee, a military person, you use your government credit card. You are supposed to file for reimbursement for your legitimate business government expenses. Not supposed to use it for your personal expenses, just like here at CNN, just like a lot of companies when employees travel. They have had this problem before. I'm sure the senator will address it, and it has led to more aggressive oversight. This time, this audit showing a very small percentage, but still, some people still putting those personal charges on their government credit card. What needs to be found out is how many of them tried to get government reimbursement for it. Many of them, we've learned, have already paid back the charges or paid for it themselves. Why do people do this sort of thing? One of the theories is that when they have these expenses, if they put it on their government card, the bill doesn't come to the House, their spouses don't see these questionable charges, and they go ahead and reimburse the government. But it's not supposed to happen this way. A short time ago, Pentagon spokesman told me that they are going back through all of this, getting the money.
Okay, guys, listen. These anchors right here, they absolutely just smirked at this situation here when she said this.
These questionable charges.
Questionable charges, okay? First off, you shouldn't be having questionable charges if you're doing the right thing, you shouldn't have questionable charges, right? A lot of these charges are for strip clubs, nightclubs, gambling, and things like that. They're using the Pentagon credit cards because they don't want their spouse to find out that they're spending money at the strip joint. That's what it is at the end of the day. You shouldn't even be doing that. If you're going to be doing it, use your own damn card. Here's a great clip of Andy Friselis. If you guys aren't following Andy Friselis, go ahead and give him a follow. He's an entrepreneur, owns supplement company and things like that. But he talks about DOGE and what Elon and Trump are doing here.
Dude, what Musk and Trump are doing is the greatest thing that's ever happened in this country since it was founded 250 years ago. And anybody that argues against it does not understand what's actually happening. Okay, you can hate Trump all you want. You can hate Elon all you want. But at the end of the day, the result of this should be, if they follow through, which is yet to be determined because we're still paying taxes. Okay, we're still, all of it is still happening. So I'm not counting on any of it going away. But if it does, it's going to benefit everybody. It is not freedom to own your house and still have to pay property tax to keep it. That's not free, okay? It's not free to work most of your time for the government. That's not free. That's called slavery. It's just looks a little different than what you think of slavery when you think of it, which is probably why they propagate the slavery so hard, because they don't want us to realize that nothing has changed.
Facts, absolute facts here. You know, the reason why leftist legacy media and individuals on the left are so upset that DOGE is coming in and doing these audits and finding all this waste, fraud, and abuse in these three-letter industries, USAID particularly to be one of them, is because they were getting the slush fund directly into their pocket. And this is a great eye-opener to all Americans to say, yo, this is where our tax dollars are going for strip clubs, for studies on weasels and cocaine, and if a lion is going to be aggressive, if another lion comes at you, or basket weaving, or whatever the scenario is. Our tax dollars have been wasted, and they're putting a stop to it. And I am glad that they are putting a stop to it. But the reason why the left is upset is because they are not getting their slush fund anymore. These guys have been pocketing checks for years and years and years, and now it's coming to an end. You see that with Schumer. You see that with Warren. All these folks, Bernie, okay? They were getting money from Big Pharma, from these other companies to better their life. Elon said it on the Joe Rogan podcast. I can't show it on here because copyright claims, but actually, you know what? I'll clip it in. I'll clip it in because I recorded it. But Elon said it best. And here is what he said.
Yeah, because we're cutting off their graft machine. So that's what they're upset about. That's the real thing they're upset about. Computers. The checks never bounce to the federal government. You know, the Pentagon will like their accounting error, like the stuff that they lose in the couch cushions is like $20-30 billion a year. They don't know where it went.
So we don't actually know where, how these people are getting rich until now. All right, guys, let me know what you think about this. The Pentagon using credit cards for strip clubs and miscellaneous nightclub activities and things like that. And Lord knows what else they're using the card for. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below, and do me a favor on your way out, smash the like button if you kindly would. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.